Welcome to Duo Chat with Brittany
and Cynthia, where we talk about drama shows
like Dawson's Creek, One Tree Hill, and more. Hi everyone, I'm Brittany.
And I'm Cynthia.
And today we're talking about Season 1, Episode 21, titled The Leaving Song, air date May 4th, 2004. And the synopsis is:
the knowledge that Dan requested joint custody over Lucas, but was turned away by Karen, makes Keith doubt her and the Scott boys, how their lives would have been growing up as brothers. Peyton and Brooke lose Johnny in the mall and find Nikki picked her up. Haley is furious when she finds porn on Nathan's computer, and since Coach Buddy must have an operation, Dan manages to be made the Ravens coach. Then Jake thinks he'll lose a custody battle against Nikki, so he considers moving in with family in Savannah and gets Peyton's support. So we start off with Lucas in his bed, and then Nathan shows up at 6 a.m. and tells Lucas to get dressed because they're going running.
It's cute. But, I mean, the fact that Nathan doesn't wake up at 6 a.m. is funny.
Mm-hmm.
Remember when Haley woke him up before 7?
Yeah.
And he was like, some of us don't get up that early. Well, apparently today he does.
Right. Yeah, so Nathan tells Lucas playoffs are next week, so they gotta get him ready.
Thank God, because this season, like, basketball-wise, is so long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Nathan feels like he owes Lucas for staying up to his dad the other day when he picked him up from jail. And then Lucas tells Nathan something's been bothering him, the thing Dan said about asking his mom what kind of parent he was. And he asks Nathan if he knew anything about it, and Nathan just says probably mind games. And then Peyton was finishing binding her pants and putting her bracelet in front of her.
Okay, why is she in front of the camera getting dressed? I don't understand this.
Right.
I also don't understand what kind of parent allows this.
Like I said, I just don't think he knows about the site.
But when he walks in, she even said, like, that she was changing or something in front of the camera. And it's not like he ripped it out.
Yeah.
Like, he knows.
Right, okay, yeah, I see my notes.
Like, what kind of parent allows that?
Mm-hmm.
You rip the camera out. You don't put it. And also, why is it in her closet?
Just because that's where her computer can fit, I guess, in her room.
Are you kidding me? She has a big bedroom.
I think she just doesn't want it to have it be in the way of, painting whatever she wants. You know?
But she does all her drawings at the computer.
Yeah, I know. I'm talking about her when she wants to paint on her walls. The computer would be in the way.
No, whatever.
So maybe she doesn't want it there because of that.
No, I think she wants the camera, but it's very perverted. Because grown men are looking at that.
Mm-hmm.
And so and that's the thing is, like, why isn't there a conversation with her father?
Well,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, he did say that he thought the camera was evil.
Okay, but that's it. He's not, like, lecturing her. He's just letting it go. Oh, my daughter's changing in front of the camera. Oh, well. Like, what?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what? This is why, honestly, sometimes he's worse than Dan.
Yeah.
Because what kind of father, especially a father, lets that happen? I mean, she already does whatever she wants. And then you add this. He's just not even a father, really. I mean, I really don't know why he's even on the screen.
Well, he's leaving again for the
See? Leaving again. Because that's what Larry Sawyer does. He always leaves.
And then Payne had joked about having a party every night.
I mean, what would it matter to him? He wouldn't even know. And he's not even worried.
Right. But he did ask Payne if she was comfortable with him seeing Karen.
Weird.
Even though they went on one date and haven't talked.
They went on one date and all he could talk about was Keith. It's not like they really bonded.
Except for the art.
I mean, they talked more about Keith and their kids than they talked about anything else. Mm-hmm. Like, that's what's bonding them is their kids.
Well, they did have that little night out at the football field game.
Yeah, where they talked about Keith liking her.
Yeah.
Like, it either comes back to the kids,
Mm-hmm.
or it comes back to Keith, and so they don't really have anything. Plus, they're boring together, and also that's just weird because the kids like each other. Know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what do you think of Larry and Karen?
Yeah.
I think it's an odd dynamic.
Yeah. It's just we only saw them at the cheerleading competition and then the date, so not really much. They just always fool around and drinking and not being responsible together.
Exactly. So yeah, those two should be together. The non-responsible people. Also, why would Karen want to be with Larry? He's a terrible father.
Yeah, I don't think she really thinks about it. She hasn't mentioned about him leaving all the time.
She also doesn't really talk to him at all. It's weird that he brings it up, but it's not like they talk at all in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
So why are we talking about it?
I don't know, he just brought it up to Peyton, I guess, before he leaves.
Weird. Again, cool. You're going to bring it up, and then you're leaving.
Right.
Also, how long is he going for?
I said 6 days.
6 days?
Mm-hmm. And then at Karen's house, Lucas mentions to her that Dan said something to him the other night, and he had asked her what really happened back then. And
it was weird. Well,
yeah.
I mean, obviously the first time when you watch it, it's shocking because Dan always seemed like the biggest ass in the world who hated Lucas.
Mm-hmm.
But then you find out when she says, Dan asked to be in your life, and you're like, what? What'd you just say?
Well, at first she says that she doesn't know what he would be talking about. And I think Lucas knows that she's lying about it because he asked Karen if Dan was messing with him, giving Karen another chance to come clean. And then she says that she always had his best interests in mind. And Lucas believes that, but then Karen confesses that after he was born.
That's what I'm saying, though, is it's jaw-dropping when you see it for the first time. Like, we knew it was coming. And so you're just like, wait a minute, I thought he was the biggest ass in the world, though. Yeah. But then come to find out, he really did want to be in Lucas's life?
Yeah, because apparently he didn't show up at first, but then he moved back in town with Deb, and he told her that he liked to help raise Lucas and asked for joint custody. She said no because she didn't trust him, and Dan was ready to sue until his lawyer told him that since he left her and got another girl pregnant, his chances weren't good.
No, I don't believe him. I believe he could have had somewhat of custody. I don't think that the judge would be like, oh, you got someone else pregnant, you don't get to see this kid at all. Like,
right.
I'm sure there would be lenience in the fact that he's still the father. Mm-hmm. And he should get 25% custody. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm not saying 50-50, but I'm just saying, a weekend here and there, just something. I'm sure the judge would have done that. Mm-hmm. So just to say that Dan wouldn't have gotten anything, like, they let bad parents be parents. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
So why wouldn't they let Dan? Plus, he was married,
mm-hmm.
and he had a child. So, like, he had stability.
Did he get married when Deb was pregnant?
I don't know when they got married, but they had a solid foundation, it sounds like. Mm-hmm. When Nathan was born. So I'm sure they probably got married after Nathan was born. Either right before or after. So, because Deb seems like that kind of person.
Yeah.
Or at least her family probably pressured her. But, yeah, the fact that the judge would look at that, like, that's actually a good thing. Mm-hmm. He would have 2 parents in the house. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm thinking they weren't married yet because then it wouldn't have been that bad. But
no, I feel like they were.
Well,
because this is a few years after.
Well, she didn't say exactly. She just said he just showed up sometime after he was born. So
right, he moved to town, and remember he had that injury in college, and then he ended up moving back.
So what? That was just like a few months, maybe.
I don't know, maybe a year.
I don't know. No, because Maybe the end of freshman year?
Maybe.
So Lucas was still under 1 year old then.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that it could have happened.
Mm-hmm.
The judge, I don't think, would be like, you don't get anything. Like, he would get something.
And then they never explained if he even signed his rights away as a parent or anything.
I highly doubt that. It's Dan Scott.
Mm-hmm.
Could you imagine Dan actually signing away anything?
Mm-hmm. I don't know, before this episode maybe.
I couldn't, because Dan is the person that would want to hold that over your head.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when he threatened Nathan, I could take you out of this world.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, he likes that control, so I don't think he'd want to sign the rights just because he'd want to control the person.
Right.
Because if at any point in his life he could do it, I feel like he would.
Mm-hmm. And then Lucas just responds to this by saying he has to go to school.
Now, okay, so Lucas is all upset, right?
Mm-hmm.
Has he not learned anything in these few months of who Dan is?
Maybe. Why?
Well, because he's all upset because Dan wasn't in his life. But we've already Nathan has already said, like, be glad he wasn't in your life. You know, remember when they bonded episodes ago when they got kicked off the bus?
Yeah, well, he's just thinking about the what if sometimes that can happen. You just wonder what it would have been like.
Yeah, your life would have been bad. You should thank your mother. Also, I don't believe that if Dan was in his life, Keith would be involved.
Right.
Because Dan would have put a stop to that one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he would have then had control. And he would have said, Keith, you're not a good influence, even though he is.
Mm-hmm.
But Dan would have just twisted everything. And so I don't think Keith would have been... Think about it. Keith and Nathan are not close. Mm-hmm. Why? Because of Dan.
Yeah.
That's the same thing that would have happened with Lucas. Plus, you saw the way Nathan was at the beginning of season 1. He was a jerk. Why? Because he was a mini Dan. That's who Lucas probably would have grown to be too.
Right.
So it's like, Lucas wouldn't be the same person that we love. He would have been season 1 Nathan growing up. There would have been 2. Could you imagine that?
Right. So I was like thinking it from that standpoint. Like if they could grow up like that and get along. Even though Nathan too thinks that they would have killed each other.
It's on record since you're talking.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know what was on record, what was off. Okay.
And then, so Lucas finds Payne at school and she wants to talk to... Oh, he wants to talk to her.
She wants nothing to do with them.
Right. Yeah, she says depends if he's telling her lies or things that aren't true. And Lucas says he deserves that. But the other night...
I have a question.
Yeah.
So, given what happened to Lucas and Peyton, and they had to basically end things, he's supposed to then tell her every person he talks to, he sleeps with, he wants to sleep with, like, he's supposed to tell her every detail? Like, they're not together.
Right, he's just explaining himself about Nikki.
No, I'm saying her. Because she's like, because she's all mad at him and like, oh, you're gonna lie and all this. And it's like, you're not together. So what he does with his life is what he does. You don't need to know a thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just...
Once you guys ended, that was it.
Yeah, it's just because Payne knows Nikki and doesn't like her and all that, so he feels like he should have told her.
No, because he barely knew what was going on. Like, he was starting to put the puzzle pieces together, too, with her. You know what I mean? Like, he was only getting little bits and pieces, too.
Yeah, but he did, like, him and Nikki did agree to keep it a secret for a bit.
Well, because, first of all, he didn't want to hurt Jake.
Well, I think he didn't want to hurt Brooke and Payne, too.
Yeah, but he also didn't really know fully who Nikki was. You know what I mean? That she really is a bad person.
Right.
So that's what I mean by, he didn't know all the pieces like Peyton did. Peyton knew more because she was around Jake.
Yeah.
Where Lucas, all he did was sleep with her and then saw her, like, again, and that was it. It wasn't like he knew everything. And I don't think Jake really went into too much detail about Nikki. He just said that's her mom. Or, my ex or whatever. Like, I don't think... He went in more detail, I think, with Peyton than he did with Lucas. Yeah. He liked to briefly say things to Lucas, but not really give detail.
Right, just because Peyton was basically Jenny too. So
well, that's what I mean. That's why I'm saying Lucas didn't know as much as Peyton did.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't really judge him on that.
Yeah, and then Peyton just says whatever and to explain to his friend Nikki and walks away.
They are not friends. But also, Nikki really does need to go away.
Right, yeah, she was just saying that to him. Like,
no, I'm just saying in general. She just really needs to go away.
Never about the friend thing.
Huh?
The friend thing. Her calling Lucas Nikki's friend.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying.
That's a good.
I know, in general.
She is so windy today. Yeah, and then later at the gym, Brooke tells Payne that now Lucas outside both of them, they can go back to hose over bros. And this is the second time they said that, I think, in the series so far.
Probably, but now all of a sudden they're besties.
Right.
Like, I can't with their relationship.
Now they have, like, a common enemy. Well, two.
Shouldn't Peyton still be the enemy?
Not
quite, it's like Brooke had forgotten everything that Peyton had done to her.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
I didn't get it. Like I said, it's just the common enemy. I can't say that.
Yes, but I'm just saying that, okay, so he did that. You're, like, I still don't understand why Brooke is so forgiving with Peyton. Like, she's the one that still cheated. And if you remember, it wasn't just once. They almost did it in that motel room. You know what I mean? It's like Brooke has just forgotten what happened. Like, yeah. It wasn't even just that they cheated. There was emotional cheating.
Mm-hmm.
Which sometimes is worse because it means they were very involved. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, nobody could break them up, sort of thing.
Yeah, well, Brooke tells Payne that they're going to do, like, a little trial makeup time at the mall.
Well, it was funny because Peyton's like, oh, you want to go shopping? Like, you're going to be, like, the shopping friend. I don't know how she said it, but it was funny. And Brooke's like, oh, maybe you do have,
there's hope for you.
Yeah, maybe there's hope for you. And it's like, oh, my gosh. All because she said those words, shopping.
Yeah. And then on the other side of the gym, Whitey calls in the team to talk to them. He says next week is their playoff game, but he will be in the hospital for his operation, eye surgery apparently. And he can't play off any longer. And Nathan asks who's going to coach them.
Well, apparently the JV coach.
Yeah, McCallum. And, this is an excuse for them to slack off. And then Lucas asks Whitey if he needs anything. And Whitey jokes his youth back. And then Lucas catches up to Nathan.
Oh my god, it was funny because he goes, oh, is McCallum any good? And Nathan's like, no, JV sucks. And I'm like, okay, Nathan. Which, you have to remember, I'm even surprised there is a JV team. Given how I would have thought they would have moved up some of those JV kids to varsity when Nathan got half the team off the team.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I would have thought that they would have moved some of those kids up. So of course they're going to suck. There's no one on the JV team. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, Nathan, they're going to suck. And you know why? Because of you. Because you...
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Nathan, I feel like, is responsible why the JV team sucks.
And then at Keith's house, Keith is still packing. Lucas shows up where he tells Keith that he wanted to ask him about something.
When is he supposed to be there? Is it like a couple weeks or something? 2-3 weeks?
I think he said like a week or something.
Oh,
I'm not sure, but yeah. But it does seem like he keeps packing for a long time.
Well, he is moving.
I know, it seems like...
Also, he found a place?
I guess, yeah.
We didn't see him go back. Or hear that he found a place. He found one very quickly. I don't know how he found a place that quick. You know what I mean? Like with paperwork and, it takes longer than a couple days to get a house. Just saying. It's not really realistic.
Yeah, so he asked Keith about Dan wanting to share custody. And then Keith asks if Dan's spreading that lie again, and Lucas tells him that his mom told him it's true. And Keith
He's
says,
all surprised.
yeah, like how he called her from college, and Lucas says no after that, and Dan wanted joint custody. He thought Keith knew that, but Keith did. So apparently he like heard about it, but he didn't believe it was true, which makes sense.
Well, because what's crazy is like Dan apparently did tell Keith the truth.
Yeah.
Now, do you think that Dan told Keith that so that Keith would get away from Karen? Because, they were this cozy little family.
Maybe.
With Lucas.
Mm-hmm.
With baby Lucas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking Dan probably said that, first of all, because it's true, but secondly, he didn't want those two that close.
Mm-hmm.
And he definitely didn't want Keith raising his son.
Right.
I think Dan would rather Lucas not have a father than Keith being around.
Mm-hmm. And then Lucas asks Keith, does he think that things would have been different if his mom would have given him a chance? And
yeah, it'd have been worse.
Yeah, because even Keith brings up like the chance he had with Nathan, and Lucas asks, what he was like back then, because it's easy to see a guy that's never cared, and it's easier to hate him that way. And Keith says maybe that's why his mom kept it from him. And Lucas says he knows he's a bad guy, but maybe he just made poor choices and he got out of control because he's doing that himself.
Okay, but the thing is, you can say that, but Dan's actions are not your typical parent feeling bad for what happened, all those years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he has basically wished Lucas wasn't alive.
Right.
You know what I mean? And he said those things
mm-hmm.
that are so bad that it's like, what? You know what I mean? Like, what, Lucas? Like, it's one thing if he didn't say any of those things, any of those bad things,
mm-hmm.
and then you found out and you're like, oh my God, I have sympathy for Dan.
Mm-hmm.
Then you could question, maybe I should have, been in Dan's life. But given how Dan has said all those things about you and wished you dead, basically, makes me not want, Dan in my life. Mm-hmm. And makes me go, thank you, Mom, for keeping me away from Psycho. Because I don't understand why Lucas is forgetting everything Dan has said and done to him.
Mm-hmm.
And made him feel like he was nothing. Remember when he said, give this bag to my son? Like,
right.
Just all those things. It's like, do you not remember any of it? So when he mm-hmm. says bad choices, so all those things are just bad choices. No, those are just Dan.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Lucas. He's not a normal person that we can feel sorry for yet.
Yeah.
Maybe one day.
Yeah, because Keith tells Lucas he's not Dan. The man's whole life is poor choices.
Well, yeah, because Lucas is like, well, I've made poor choices, and mm-hmm. that's when Keith's like, you're not Dan, which mm-hmm. is true.
Yeah, and Lucas says that's just it, and maybe this is the one that changed him.
But you have to remember, too, that, Lucas is definitely not Dan, because Lucas is still in high school. He's, 16.
Mm-hmm.
So he's, he's still got maturity to go through. Yeah. Where Dan... this is just who he is. We've already lost him.
Right.
You can't reprogram that.
So the next day, Nathan's apartment, Nathan is letting Haley use the laptop, his laptop.
She don't have one? I thought she had a computer.
Yeah, she says she does, but her internet sucks, so I guess it's just slow. And then he's going to practice. And then after that work, so he'll be gone for a while. And he's going to work out with Lucas, too, during the practice. So Haley, is shocked that he's, being responsible, helping Lucas train and, go to work. So she's like, who is he? And what do you do with her real boyfriend? And Nathan says she wanted him to cut Lucas some slack, so that's what he's doing. And then Haley asks if, it's not also a way to get back at Dan, and Nathan says that's not what it is. He's just going to stick it to his dad by erasing him from the record books. And then, so after he leaves, Haley opens up her laptop to start her homework. And then in Whitey's office, he's struggling to read the playoffs schedule with his glasses when Dan walks in. And then Whitey says that they haven't been kind of open yet and he already can smell the blood.
Well, and then of course,
Like he's a shark.
well, and then of course Dan was like, "You better let me coach."
Right.
Again, because they're talking about that McCallan guy and how he's not very good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but Whitey's against this, of course.
But yeah, it's Dan Scott.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't want those kids ruined by him.
Mm-hmm. Because
oh my God, Whitey though. Because Dan was going on about you just let me do it. And everything, and he said you daddied half of the boys on the team.
Yeah,
it's funny.
Yeah, Danny said the way that he knows the game as well as he does. Yeah,
but it was funny. Yeah, you daddied half of them.
Yeah,
oh my God.
And then Dan says that he knows Whitey doesn't care much for him, but he does care a lot about the team. And Whitey says he cares enough to protect him from him, so over his dead body. And Dan says that that's what he wants, but before he leaves, Whitey tells him he's going to be just fine. Thanks for asking for his surgery. And then Nathan and Lucas are playing at the river court. Lucas is sore and wants to be done. Nathan tells him one more game. Lucas makes a shot but misses the net. And then Nathan says, nice shot, Haley. And then while he's stretching his arm, Lucas asks Nathan if Dan talked to him about when he was little. Nathan says when he was younger, he used to hear about his parents argue about him. He knew he was out there, and he hated the fact that he hated him too.
Well, and also the boys ended up playing on the same team when they were in Little League or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So they did know each other.
Right. I think like before that, he's talking about.
Who remembers their life before that?
I don't know. I can still remember preschool a little bit.
Well, Little League is around there that time.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. Sometimes you can just remember certain things.
When you're 2?
Yeah. Yeah, or 3 even. Yeah, so Nathan says he just thought what his dad wanted him to think. It made sense at the time. So that's when Lucas tells Nathan that Dan wanted custody of him. And,
yeah, Nathan's shocked.
Yeah. And, he says the one decent thing Dan did and he buried it. Lucas asks, does he think if Dan got his way, they might have grown up together? And then like we talked about earlier,
Well, it's funny because Nathan's like, no, we would have killed each other.
Yeah. Because Lucas mentions that they could have teamed up against Dan.
Which, I mean, it's true because Dan definitely would have pitted those two against each other growing up, like he's trying to do now.
Yeah.
It's like all this time he's trying to put those two against each other, trying to brainwash Nathan into hating them. So he would have just done that to the two of them, especially because he would have had Nathan all the time and Lucas part of the time. So he really would have been able to brainwash Nathan into hating Lucas.
Right. Yes, Nathan tells Lucas he didn't miss anything. And then back at Nathan's apartment, Haley's still doing her homework on Nathan's laptop. She goes online to check the published date for a citation for her paper. And when she goes to type in origin, which is the first word of the title of the book, the engine search autofills it to Original Sin, Hot Nasty Girls, and Haley gets curious what it is. When she clicks on it, it turns out to be a porn site with the same name. And then Haley goes to the favorites tab to see even more porn sites saved, along with Mouse Blog at the top and Payne's webcam site towards the end. Did you catch that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so this was shocking. Even, like back then that would have been, because I feel like they didn't discuss this kind of topic on shows back then,
What, porn?
Yeah.
Yeah. Except for Dawson's Creek. Remember when Pacey turned it on?
Oh, yeah.
And Joey got all mad.
Yeah, like... It's just
and he's like, oh, we're going to laugh about it someday.
Right. It's just like the being it online was brand new at this time. As far as I know, at least. But I thought it was creepy how he also had Payne's site on there, too.
Well, I mean, she's always getting dressed in front of the camera.
I know, but since he's with Haley, he definitely shouldn't have that on there.
Yeah.
And then Keith drops by Karen's house, and Keith mentions Lucas saw him last night, and he had a lot of questions about what she told him about Dan. And he wasn't the only one. Karen tells him that he has the right to be upset. Keith agrees. He wants Karen to explain to him how she could keep that from him all these years. So yeah, it's, Keith and Lucas are really mad, I think, too, at mainly the fact that Karen kept that from both of them the whole time.
I mean, but for Lucas, when's the right time to tell your son?
Right.
It's like, at what age do you tell him? By the way, your dad, or you don't want to say really dad.
Birth father.
Yes. Your birth father, he wanted custody of you. I mean, when do you tell them? Because, any age is tricky.
Right. And then Karen asks, what he would have done differently if he did know. And she questioned.
Well, yeah, she said, would you have loved Lucas any less?
Right. And he says, of course not, but he might have a different opinion about his brother.
I don't think so.
Right.
Because he watched how Dan was with Nathan, and he hated it. Yeah. So he would have only hated it again.
Yeah, that's what Karen says.
It's like, why is everybody forgetting what Dan has done?
Right.
It's like, all of a sudden, anything that Dan has done to Nathan or Deb or Karen or Lucas, it's like, oh, we're just going to forget it, and Dan's still the greatest person in the world. Like, come on, you guys. Get real. Yeah. He's not a normal person.
Yeah, Keith says back then Dan had even told him that he approached Karen about the joint custody, but he calls him a liar, and now he found out the person lying was her, yeah. And Karen says she was just trying to protect Lucas and give him the best life possible. And, because he was just a kid, and she was just, young herself and scared.
Well, so when she said she was just a kid, too, like, you have to remember, too, she didn't have support.
Right.
Like, Deb had her family, and it's like, Karen clearly didn't have friends or family. Like, they all probably abandoned her when she got pregnant. So she had to do what was best for her baby. Because she didn't have people to rely on. Like Jake. He's got his family. It's like, people forget that. I mean, so it's hard because, we want to blame this Karen who's in her 30s. But you have to remember she was young. And when you don't have support and you're trying to be financially stable, and it's a lot. It's a lot for anyone. And then someone who doesn't have that, it's even worse. So, you got to stop blaming the 30-some-year-old Karen. Because, again, people do say, like, when, 16-year-olds have babies, they kind of stop. Because, because you're now... Like, when you're in your 30s, but you have, because you now have a 16-year-old, it's like, you're still reverting always back to that 16-year-old, because that's what age you had to kind of grow up or stop being a kid.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's that same thing. She was, she was a little older than 16, but she still was young. So sometimes in her mind, she's still that 18-year-old.
Right.
That I think people forget.
And she was scared that she was going to lose Keith, too, after him.
I mean, that's the thing is, like, if Dan would have got custody, she would have lost Lucas and then Keith.
Yeah.
It's like, really?
Right. Yeah, so Keith, asks Amin that he would take Dan's side over hers, and Karen says, yeah. And Keith responds that he thought she knew him better than that, and walks out. Yeah, so, he loved her either way, so he would have stayed by her side, but...
Yeah, but... when you're going through that, you don't know what people are going to do, because people do crazy stuff all the time. Like, people you love can turn on you. So it's like, you don't know how that person is going to be. You have to really think about yourself in those situations.
And then Whitey walks into his office to find Dan sitting on his desk.
That would be a scary thing to walk into. Dan's sitting there, because I'd be like, this is my personal stuff. Get away.
Right.
And apparently he's looking for the playbook.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it was funny when he says that he thought he had to invite vampires in.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah, so Dan's just telling him that he's going to be the coach after all.
Yeah, it was weird because he's like, I had a meeting.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, of course you did.
Yeah. And he tells White not to worry, the team is in good hands.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And then Brooke and Peyton are at the mall with Jenny. Peyton need to watch her last minute. And they try to decide which store they should check out first. And Peyton says that she just missed the whole girlfriend thing. And then just then, Nikki's behind them, holding Jenny, and says, well, to make Peyton turn around.
Now, I have an issue.
Yeah.
Okay. Who in their right mind turns the stroller away from you?
Right, I was thinking that because, I haven't babysitted
No, but if you have baby out in a stroller, you put the baby, they're supposed to be in front of you the whole time. So if you're looking into a window, they're going to be in front of the window, in front of you.
Yeah, because you should have them in your sight all the time.
Yeah. Yes, so I agree with Jake when it comes to it takes you didn't look for 2 seconds and look what happened, but it's like, why would you turn the stroller to your back?
Right.
Like, who does that?
Yeah, or even Peyton and Brooke could have seen them on each side of it, so she'd be in the middle of them.
Facing the store,
right,
not facing the people.
Right, yeah.
It's like, Peyton, I can't. Because if that was my kid, I would have gone off on Peyton.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, what kind of you would never babysit my kid again.
Right.
I'm just like, Jake was pretty nice because I wouldn't have been.
Right.
Because think if, okay, you have to think too. Luckily, it was Nikki.
Mm-hmm.
As much as we hate her.
Yeah, not a stranger, yeah.
At least it wasn't somebody that would have actually taken your child and either killed it or,
Worse,
yes, it's like, or sold it. It's like there's so many bad things that could have happened that you should be glad it was Nikki, Peyton, because think of how much guilt she would have. I mean, she already has guilt now, but it's like, think if it was worse than Nikki.
Right. She's basically going through the same thing Keith did with Lucas. The guilt of, you're responsible for the child of somebody you love or care about. And
yeah, well, he didn't, this one's different.
I know it's not the same kind of level, but it's the same situation kind of.
No.
Something happened when you weren't fully paying attention.
No, because Peyton was too busy into shopping. Well, if you're too busy shopping,
that's what I'm saying.
Give me my kid back.
Yeah. So Nikki says that she's protecting Jenny while the two Barbies.
Yeah, because all they want to do is shop.
Yeah.
Now, is that the first time she's held Jenny?
I
feel like it has, because I don't think Jake really lets her hold.
Right, yeah,
Jenny.
Mm-hmm.
Also, can I just say, Jenny looks nothing like either one of them.
Right. And then Payne tells Nikki to put Jenny down as if that's going to do anything.
Oh, yeah. So Nikki has never listened to you people, but she's going to listen now?
Yeah.
Okay, I have some red flags with Peyton in this episode.
Right.
Because that's only the first one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because Nikki starts walking off with Jenny, and Payne acts like, where is she going? Like, following
away from you!
Yeah.
Clearly. Mm-hmm. She's taking her daughter and running away from you, Payne. Because you're such a great babysitter.
Yeah, she says she's going to shop with her daughter, and Brooke says she doesn't think she's taking Jenny anywhere as Nikki's walking with Jenny in her arms.
As if those two are stopping her.
Yeah. And then Nikki went into a Build-A-Bear area, and was it a thing back then? I think it was Build-A-Bear, wasn't it? It looked like it.
I don't know. All I know is Payne is a terrible babysitter.
Because Payne tells Brooke to get security.
So, okay, that's fine. Brooke goes to get security, but why? Okay.
Payne loses her eyes.
This is my point. Is Peyton is too busy trying to look for her cell phone,
right?
To call Jake, which Brooke is already going to get security.
And then she stopped walking too. She didn't keep following her.
She stopped.
Yeah.
And then did you see her turn around to go because there was a cell phone shop right there? I'm like, but Cynthia, why? Okay, why would you? She just took her. Why would you lose sight of her?
Right.
Follow. Okay, if I was Payne,
Yeah, just keep following her.
Oh, I'll be following that bitch.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be like, I don't care if I have a phone or not.
Right.
I'll be, you know what I mean? Like, are you kidding me? Like, Peyton could fight her.
Yeah.
It's like, are you kidding me?
She
like,
did, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, follow her. Like, you've already done damage by letting her hold her.
Right.
And losing sight of her. It's like, and then you just lost her. Because when Brooke comes up to her, like, with security, she goes, I lost sight of her. How?
Right. I was also surprised that phone she got had service on it, too.
I know, because normally you have to activate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a little convenient.
Yeah, so, she calls the cafe to talk to Jake. And Karen
But it just upset me that she would be dumb enough to actually let Nikki walk away with Jenny. Like, follow her.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, we know Peyton could run. It's like, go and follow her. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, even Hillary said that she knew that that's not how the scene would have played out in
Hell
real life.
no.
Yeah.
You follow that bitch. You know what I mean?
Right.
Forget about calling Jake. Wouldn't it be better to call him and say, now this happened, but I do have your daughter.
Right.
You know what I mean? That would have been better than, I lost your kid.
Yeah. Like, if anything, like, Brooke should have tried calling him or something when she was, with security. Yeah.
She should have said, go get security and call Jake. I'm going to find this bitch.
Yeah.
Like, what? Yeah. That'd have been like my thing, Cynthia. You go get security. I'm going to find her. Like, I'm going to chase Nikki. That's what I'm going to do. Yeah. Because I can't with Peyton. Why are you so stupid?
Yeah. And then a security guard tells him that the police is on their way.
I'm sorry, but I would not let Peyton near my kid again.
Yeah, and then apparently they had other guards looking throughout the mall for her, but, like, I thought the guards that were there with them would go, look too. Like,
well, Peyton lost sight of her.
I know, I'm just saying. Like,
they don't even know what she looks like.
Well, I'm sure they told them that at least, but I was surprised that the guards that were with them didn't take off again to go look some more, instead of stay with them.
Well, Peyton right away said I lost sight of her, so it's like, well, what are we gonna do?
I don't know, they could just have more eyes out, but
I just Peyton annoyed the crap out of me because why see, this is the thing. Jake was too nice. Like, yeah, he was upset, but I feel like he was too nice because I'd be like, why in the world did you not go and chase her down? She had my kid. You know what I mean? Like, what? Yeah. Peyton, I felt, was smarter than that.
Right.
So it just made me so mad because I'm like, Peyton, why? And Peyton has a big purse or whatever. She could smack her with that. You know what I mean? It's like, come on, Peyton. You can defend yourself against Nikki. But, okay, so Cynthia, what would have happened if Nikki would have put Jenny in her car and drove away?
Yeah, left them all.
Far, far away. And nowhere to be seen or found.
Yeah, well, I would hope that...
This is why you follow her.
Yeah, I would hope then at least Jake would not talk to Peyton anymore after that.
But I'm just saying, like, this is why you follow her. Because you will know exactly where she is.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, are you kidding me?
Right.
And then I feel like outside, too, like, if they went outside, Peyton could make a big scene saying she's stealing the baby.
Right.
You know what I mean? To get people looking and, like, alert. Instead of... But Peyton was playing it so stupid. I
with
that girl.
Yeah, inside the mall, too, she wasn't making a scene either.
No. I'd be like, you stole a baby!
Yeah.
Yeah. Nothing to even indicate that there was a child missing. She didn't yell, stop her! Or anything.
Right.
Nothing. Peyton did nothing.
Right. And then Nathan gets home with Lucas right behind him. And Haley still has the porn site open on his laptop. And Nathan is proud to tell Haley that him and Lucas played ball for the entire afternoon and nobody
Yeah, imagine like when she told Lucas, I need to talk to Nathan.
Right. And that's just because Lucas knows something was off, so he asks if she's okay.
Well, yeah, she was being awfully quiet. Normally she'd be all happy and bubbly.
Yeah. So Nathan didn't.
Well, especially because she'd really be happy that those two are bonding.
Right, yeah. So then Haley starts off saying she was doing some research on the internet and she found what her boyfriend's been saying. And then she turns the laptop around to show him the porn site. And Nathan says he stumbled upon it, so it's no big deal.
Stumbled upon it, just popped up.
Right? Yeah.
I didn't know how to. I didn't know how to click off of it.
Yeah.
But I have so many of them that are saved. I don't know how that happened.
Yeah, Haley brings it up. Yeah. And she tells Nathan it's hard enough, with her to compete with the girls at school. Just give it away. Now she has to be a porn star, and Nathan tells Haley she's overreacting, and Haley says she doesn't think she is. This hurts her. He asks why, because those girls aren't real. Plus, he's a guy. Guys look at that stuff. And Haley tells Nathan, not to be a guy, be a man. I mean, I get that, but he's still a teenage boy, too, at the same time.
But also, too, he was dumb enough to save it on his computer.
Right.
It's one thing if you're, looking at it, but don't save it.
Yeah.
At least just remember the website. Don't actually save it. I'm like, Nathan, that was where you went wrong, because then she wouldn't know anything about it.
Right.
This could have been totally avoided, Nathan, if you didn't save it on your computer.
Yeah, unless she went through a search history, but,
Well, there's ways you can delete it.
Yeah, I know.
So, but I was just like, Nathan.
I think if you're tech savvy, too, you can find out what was deleted, too. I think.
Yeah, but she was only trying to find research on...
Yeah, I'm just saying.
I don't think she really would have investigated it. Right. Now she is. Now she's like, what else you got?
Yeah. So she just doesn't want to be compared to them.
But I also do agree later on with him when he says, I like privacy. I should be able to have my own privacy. Because I agree with him. It's there's nothing on my computer, but I also don't want you going through it.
Right.
You know what I mean? This is my stuff.
Yeah.
So I agree with him with that. I let you come over, right? That should be good enough.
Yeah.
You don't need to go through my computer. So.
Yeah. So
also, he's not cheating. Yes, do I agree that, he's, yes, as a girl, you're thinking, I gotta compete. Yes, that's a true, real thing. So I agree with her, but I agree with him too. You know what I mean? That is what, boys do.
Right.
But I also don't like that she said be a man. He's 16.
Yeah, that's what I said, yeah.
I'm like, hey, Haley, whatever your name is, stop it.
Yeah. I mean, because it is normalized. I think, with Playboy back in, I think, the 80s it started, maybe. And then, the internet came along and kind of got in there, and now it's mainly online. But, I don't know, I think he should have, at this point, her saying how she felt, he should have considered her feelings at this point,
You definitely should have said, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for making you feel that way.
Right, yeah. Because he just kind of, blew her off,
And kind of blamed her in a way.
Yeah.
I don't know why you're acting this way. And it's because she can.
Yeah.
You want your feelings validated, right, Nathan? You got to give her the same thing, too.
Right, meet her in the middle.
Yeah. And maybe you should talk about this.
Right.
Because clearly you haven't talked about this.
Yeah, so she says, the thought of being naked in front of him scares her, but the thought of, this being the standard of what she's going to be compared to, she says, forget it, and walks out of the apartment. And then back at the mall, Jake gets there and, asks if they found Jenny yet. Yeah.
And I'm very on his side.
Yeah, Peyton tells him, no, they haven't found her yet, and he's so sorry. She's so sorry.
I wouldn't even want to talk to Peyton.
Yeah, she only looked away for 2 seconds.
Yeah, and he goes, 2 seconds. That's what it takes.
Yeah, and then the security guard told Jake to calm down. But he has a right. It's his daughter that's missing, and he just got there. And
the thing is, too, Jake has been so protective over her.
Yeah.
And then he lets Peyton babysit her, and look what happens.
Right. Yeah, so, he's starting to kind of argue with the cops, and then...
Well, then he goes, well, no, I thought it was the security. Was it the security?
Yeah,
and he goes, this is a custody battle? Sorry, dude.
Right.
It's what?
And then Nikki had walked up, and instantly asking what's going on.
Then she goes, what? I told you I was shopping with my daughter.
Yeah, as if she didn't cause the whole thing.
I was like, I will say that's what did crack me up. But I was just like, she did come back. That's what I'm saying. What would have, like, you know how much worse it would have been if she didn't come back?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, Peyton should be, like, Peyton's lucky Nikki came back.
Right.
Because, again, she could have definitely taken her.
Mm-hmm.
And Nikki didn't sign her rights away, right?
Right.
So she could just tell the court, she's mine.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, you know, there's no documentation that proves she's not mine.
Right.
So, sorry.
Yeah, but I didn't like how she said she took Jenny shopping and then they rode the carousel.
I know. I was like, bleh.
Mm-hmm.
We know what that means from the past, Nikki. That's just gross.
Yeah. Like,
and how she said it too.
Yeah.
I read the carousel.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, Nikki?
Yeah, because I don't know how well they clean those things, you know, or when they do. I hope they do, you know. But of course, that's not what they're going to think that, you know, happened on it, but...
There was no security.
And then, yeah, so Nikki said that she picked Jenny up because they weren't watching her, and she told
It's like somebody had to watch her, right?
Yeah.
You know, I will say, too, like, Peyton definitely screwed Jake over. Because in the court's eyes, they're going to be like, You're like, yeah, Nikki left her, but Nikki's back. And Peyton, you left her with some girl who decided deciding shopping was more better than watching the child. You know what I mean? Like, priorities.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, Jake would definitely probably lose custody because he almost lost his daughter to a stranger.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Nikki definitely could fight that and win that battle. Just that battle alone, I feel like he could have lost her.
Right.
So, yeah, Peyton really screwed him. Not even just, looked away for 2 seconds. Like, you screwed him.
Yeah. And then, too, when the guard actually had custody, Jake could have just simply said he does, but then he goes in like a explanation saying like Nikki took off as soon as the baby was born. Like he didn't need the whole story. He just needed like a yes or no answer, you know?
Yeah, but again, she didn't sign right. Like she didn't sign her rights away, so I don't think there's really papers that say he has full custody.
Right.
So she could fight that too.
Yeah, I guess.
Well, if there's no papers that say it, then she has just as much right.
Mm-hmm.
Do I agree with it? No, but I'm just saying in the court of law, they'll probably, say, well, she never signed anything. So, and I don't really think Jake went to court to get full custody of her.
Right.
Because they don't have money.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like again, there's no documentation that proves he has full custody. It's a he said, she said.
Right. I think there would be, though.
Well, yeah, especially if you don't want Nikki back in the child's life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, Nikki goes on to say that she's not sure she can trust Jake with Jenny, so she's going to get custody. She's better off with her. And then she says bye to Jenny and puts her back in the
she was calling her Bunny.
Yeah. Well, that reminded me of Audrey calling Joey and her mom that.
Oh.
But yeah, I've never heard anyone call anyone Bunny before either in real life.
What's up, Bunny?
Right. And then Jake walks off with Jenny in the stroller. He keeps walking even after Payne tries talking to him.
I mean,
as he should.
Yeah, he should not talk to her for the rest of his life.
Right. And then the next scene, Dan walks into the cafe to see Deb, where she tells Dan Karen made her her partner. And Dan says he hopes she means in the business. And then mentions she said she had something for him. And that something ends up being his watch he left on the bedroom floor the other night. And he says, what makes her think...
That's creepy.
Yeah, but even more, he says, what makes her think he didn't leave it as payment?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Gross.
Yeah. And then Karen walks up.
Can I talk to you?
Yeah. All of a sudden.
Oh my God. But when he said, I'm not the devil, Karen.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh my God, Dan. You kind of are. Like, no matter what, you still are.
Yeah, after she said, messing with Lucas every chance he gets. He says he's tired of being blamed for everything. Karen says not everything, just his due. And because she brings up he suggested to abort her child, and then one day he grows a tiny sliver of conscience that has long since disappeared and expects a medal for that. And then Dan says no, he expects her to be held as accountable as he has. But she's the one who's kept the truth from him.
But again, don't you think Lucas should know Dan wanted him aborted?
Yeah, he should know everything.
Like, as much as you don't want to know that, when it comes to which parent is better, the one who chose to keep you.
Right.
That's the one that's better.
Yeah, and then Dan changed his mind. After, not even like right when he was born, it's after he was born.
Right. So it's like, he wouldn't be there to even make a decision if it was up to Dan, because he'd be gone. So it's like, Lucas should know that. Like, again, as much as you don't want to know, but I do think Lucas should know, because then it'd be very easy and clear who's the better person.
Yeah. Yeah, so she tells Dan that he doesn't regret missing out on Lucas's life. He just hates the fact that she beat him. And he's punishing Lucas because a lawyer told him years ago that he could never win.
Which I still disagree with.
Right. So she just tells him to stay away from Lucas. And then Dan says he can't do that because he's his coach.
Yeah, of course. Now, I'm surprised that Deb didn't get in the middle of this. Like, he's also the coach of Nathan.
Right.
Like, I'm surprised Karen didn't say it, like, loud enough where Deb heard and then Deb got involved, because I think that would have been funny. The two of them going at Dan, yelling at him.
Yeah, so Karen lets Dan know if he is coaching to hurt her son, she doesn't care who on the school board he so cars to, she'll bury him. And Dan tells Karen she shouldn't bury the kid. The boy needs to learn to fight his own battles.
Oh my God, yes. I was like, what? The boy needs to fight his own battles. And I'm like, damn.
Yeah, and then Karen comes back with, is that why Nathan left him?
Yeah, that was good.
And then back in Payne's room, she's drawn like usual and listening to music with her earbuds when Haley shows up. So, it takes her a second to get Payne's attention. And with Payne's door being unlocked and her being distracted with her music, that's just really, really bad.
So Larry is the bad father.
Yeah. And then, she's there to talk to Payne about Nathan. And, well, first to talk about Jenny, but Payne's up to listening to what's going on with Haley. And then Haley explains that she's at Nathan's on his computer and she came across this creepy porn. And then Payne made a comment about midgets. I don't know where that came from. And then Haley says, Pamela Anderson wannabes. And, Shaq's Payne if she has the right to be bothered by this, because she would be bothered by this if they're so together, her and Nathan. And Payne says, not really, but their relationship was nothing like theirs. Haley says, because they're having sex, and Payne says, no, because she was never in love with Nathan the way she is. And then Haley mentions Nathan said he's cool with waiting until she's ready, but if he's filling up with cyber sex in the meantime, she's not going to measure up to that, and Payne tells Haley she doesn't have to compete with anything. She has something they don't, his heart. And that is true, but I don't know, it's kind of controversial, because, either way, he's still looking at other women. So, I feel like on some level, it could be considered cheating. I feel like if he had gave her a heads up, mentioned it before, I'm doing this, is it okay with you? Then it would have been a whole different story, I think.
Asking permission.
Well, just,
it sounds like he's a kid. I'm asking my mommy permission.
Just, letting her know what he's going to do, so she is aware,
Well, the problem is Nathan, I'm sure, has always done this. So it's very hard because he's trying to be a better person, but it's only been a couple months.
Yeah,
you gotta give him the dude a break. I mean, he still is his old self sometimes, and it comes out.
Yeah, and
do I agree with it? No, but I'm just saying that It's only been a couple months that they've been together, so it's not like, he can change overnight. Haley's acting like he needs to change overnight, but that's not the case. They've only been together a couple months.
Mm-hmm. And then, too, I feel like so it seems like Payne didn't know about this either, but I feel
Payne's cool with it. Okay.
Right. Well, I was going to say, if Payne didn't know about it and was fine with it, then I feel like Nathan would have had assumed that Haley would be too, and that's why he didn't mention it. But it seems like they both just didn't know.
But, remember Peyton and Nathan talked about it, that Nathan always did what Nathan wanted in their relationship. Yeah. So so even if she had an opinion about it, he did what he wanted. So I'm sure he probably thought
he could do it again.
He could just do whatever he wanted.
Right, yeah.
So, because again, he hasn't really been in this kind of relationship where she matters.
Yeah.
Because Peyton clearly didn't matter to him.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's hard because he's, trying to be a better person, but he just, doesn't quite know.
Right.
That's why her feelings, they haven't registered to his head yet.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, I do agree. Like, it's going to be in your mind of, he doesn't see me the way he sees these, or these naked girls. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah. And then Lucas and Nathan are working out in the weight room. They're talking about playing better than Dan and not let him get to them.
This was cute.
Mm-hmm.
I love when Nathan and Lucas are getting along.
Yeah.
And they look and feel like real brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Where they can talk about girls and sports and all of that stuff and not have, all this bad karma and everything hanging over their heads.
Yeah, so Lucas asks if Brittany's okay with Haley because he called her last night.
She didn't answer.
Yeah, so Nathan tells him that she found out he was looking at some websites that don't exactly make him boyfriend of the year.
So, I am surprised and happy that Haley didn't tell Lucas just because they're starting to get along.
Yeah.
And that would have been like another thing.
Right, yeah.
Like for Lucas to be like, well, I can't, I don't like, I hate Nathan.
Yeah.
So, because he's always on the I hate Nathan train. So I'm happy that she didn't just because they're finally getting along.
Yeah, and it wasn't really his business anyhow, so I get why.
Yeah, but it's his best friend.
Yeah.
So if she's coming to him, he's gonna have an opinion.
Right, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's one thing if he just, got all the gossip and then said his opinion because it'd have been like, well, who put you involved?
Mm-hmm.
But if she would have told him, well, then he's involved.
Yeah. Yeah, so he just tells Lucas like he's trying not to pressure her.
But apparently Nathan's putting him in the middle now.
Mm-hmm. And then Lucas just tells him not to look at any sites with farm animals. So. And then Dan had walked up to
and hates it and hates every moment of this.
Yeah, because the doors are closed, so he's watching them through the windows of the doors.
And he hates it.
Yeah,
he's thinking, he's thinking to himself, how am I going to break these two up? Because I'm not liking the sight of it.
Yeah.
But then what's funny is Whitey comes up and he said, he goes, most fathers would be touched by this scene.
Yeah.
He said, but I'm guessing it's your worst nightmare. And Whitey was so funny because he has the best lines for Dan. But he also is so funny because he's always like laughing too when he says it. It's just so good.
And then later at Karen's house, Karen goes into Lucas's room to talk to him. She tells him she owes him an apology. She shouldn't have lied to him about Dan. Lucas agrees, and she understands he's upset. And Lucas says he doesn't think she does. He can't just turn his feelings off. After all these years, he was sure he should hate Dan because he didn't want him. He
still did.
Yeah.
Lucas, he still never wanted you. He might have had a glimpse of it when you were like 1, but it's gone.
Yeah, he guesses he's mad at her for making him question that now.
Again, if he really wanted Lucas, don't you think that he would have been happy that Lucas was on the basketball team, that the sons are bonding, that, he would try to have a relationship with Lucas and be nice to him? Like, don't you think that if he wanted you, Lucas, he would have done these things. No.
Right.
Instead, he's done the opposite. So look at the actions, not the words.
Yeah, it seems like he's forgetting that because he says that he's not sure if he should hate him now. He's not even sure if he knows Dan.
Yeah, everyone knows Dan.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's the same thing with Keith. He's going on, too, about, well, I guess I don't know my brother. And it's like, what are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
You do know your brother. He's an ass.
Yeah. So Lucas asks, like, was there ever something there, that made her love him?
Well, that was the thing, too, was that Lucas is like, you loved him at one point.
Yeah.
Like, there's got to be good in there. And it's like, that's long gone.
Yeah,
like, whatever she fell in love with,
mm-hmm.
that's over with. It's like the same thing with Deb. It's like whatever she fell in love with all those years ago, that's over with. Even though, for some odd reason, she slept with him.
Right.
Still not understanding that point.
Yeah, that's what Karen says, too. And then the next day, Dan's coaching the team, working tirelessly with drills.
Oh, my God. But did you hear him when he said, where's Jake?
Yeah.
And Tim said, oh, sometimes Whitey lets them skip practice because of his baby.
Yeah.
And he goes, sounds like Whitey.
Right. And then he tells him no more special treatment for anyone. And then he benches Tim, I guess, for saying that. And
I know, it's like, so you ask a question.
Yeah.
Somebody answers. And then you say you're benched.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? Yeah. Does that make any sense? You wanted to know the answer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, someone just gave it to you.
Right. It's not like he,
went against Dan.
Well, I say, it's not like he's the one that made Jake be a father. Yeah.
Or allowed him to miss practice.
Mm-hmm.
It was Whitey. Yell at Whitey.
And then he also made the whole team do push-ups on the bleachers, which isn't good for Lucas's shoulder. And then makes the team make 10 baskets in a row. And if they miss one, they have to grab a weight and run. And then start over.
And so Nathan, of course, gets up there, makes the first basket. Dan goes, bend your knees. And Nathan's like, I made the basket. And Dan goes, he's like, what, did you have attitude? He goes, no, did Whitey allow you to have attitude or something with him? And I'm like, actually, or no, talk back to him or something. And I'm like, actually, he did. Nathan talked back a lot to Whitey. And because he's a mini Dan. And so it's like, actually, Dan, he did. Nathan talked a lot to Whitey.
And then Nathan did bend his knees on the next throw.
It missed. It missed.
Just sure enough. So now he has to,
grab a weight. And then, of course, Lucas gets up there, misses the first basket, and then Dan goes, he said, go get a weight and join your new pal. I was like, oh my God. The hatred in Dan.
And then they're doing sprints now. Lucas is still struggling, and Dan tells him to keep up and keep going. Lucas is, stops now, catching his breath, and says he's too weak from the accident. And
he goes, yeah, you're weak, all right. I'm like, what?
And then Lucas, throws up and tells Nathan to clean it up.
Which is funny because Haley threw up on Dan, and now it's like Lucas is throwing up.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like
just Dan.
I was just gonna say, it's like the sight of Dan. Everyone just throws up with him.
Yeah. And then later on, Lucas collapses on Haley's bed at her house. She asks what happened to him.
I'm surprised he didn't bring up the throw up because Haley would have been like, "Hey, I did that too."
Yeah. That explains his first practice with Dan. It was bad for Nathan too.
And yet, okay, given who Lucas has been all season long, it's very strange that he's having this conversation with Haley and saying to Haley, like, basically, let it go.
Right.
And I'm like, Lucas, you have been on the I hate Nathan train. And here is a reason, one reason, to hate Nathan.
Right.
And you're on his side.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? I don't understand this point at all.
I guess because it isn't something that changes Haley is the reason why he doesn't have a problem with it. Because the tattoo changed her body and the
it made her feel insecure and it made her change her view on Nathan.
Yeah,
and now it's making her change her view on Lucas.
Yeah, I think it's because he's too much of a guy to understand.
I was just gonna say, I think it's a guy thing. He's siding with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But also, because, but Peyton sided with Nathan.
Right.
By saying basically let it go.
Mm-hmm.
And Brooke probably would have done the same thing. It's like, she needs someone else to talk to. Who are we going to get? Because
maybe Karen.
I was going to say Karen or Deb, maybe. One of them who would actually understand.
Right, yeah.
Because clearly everyone else is just like, just let it go, Haley. And it's like...
Yeah, so it's so normalized, so it's overlooked, yeah.
But I don't like that even the girls are side. Like,
yeah.
Because Brooke would.
Yeah.
And so did Peyton. So it's like, I don't like that they're not being, like, sympathetic with Haley. They're just saying, it's just, let it go, let it go. And it's like, I can see from the guys, because they're guys.
Yeah.
But now when it comes to the girls.
And maybe, too, it's because Haley's a virgin and they're not. Maybe that's why they're always different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because probably when Peyton may have, if she ever knew, like, let's just say she did know about the porn, I'm sure they've already had sex, so it wasn't, like, news. It would have been like, well, we've already done it, so I'm not insecure.
Yeah. Definitely.
So that's probably, if it would have come out with Nathan and Peyton, it wouldn't have been that way because, they've already done it.
Exactly.
Where Haley is like, we've been together for a couple months. We haven't done it, and now I see you're looking at porn. It's like, it's different.
Yeah. And then, so Haley is surprised that Lucas is concerned about his brother. And he says it's because he saw firsthand how horrible it is with him in jail.
He knew.
Yeah.
I don't understand Lucas in this episode.
I guess, is this the first time with basketball, maybe, specifically?
Yeah, but I feel like we've seen Dan. I feel like Lucas has seen him. I mean, he took the drugs.
Right.
Lucas saw that. So what are you talking about?
Yeah, I don't know.
No, I'm talking about Lucas. Like, what is he talking about? I don't understand Lucas in this episode. He's not like Peyton in this episode. Don't understand him.
Right. And then, Haley didn't expect Lucas to bring that up because she didn't think that Nathan would talk to him about it. And Lucas says, it's where they're talking more, and then adds, at least Nathan isn't cheating on her. And Haley points out Nathan is looking at plastic bimbos, and Lucas says it could be worse. And Haley looks at him like, what? And then says, did she ever think that maybe this is just helping him so he can give her space, and so that he doesn't hassle her about sex? And Haley says she doesn't, that he shouldn't need help giving her space. He should be better than that, especially if he loves her. And she can't believe Lucas is defending him, and she asks him who's protecting her heart in this.
But also, I hate going back and forth of, like, defending Haley and defending Nathan. But I get both sides, like, that's why I'm doing it. But for Nathan, this is his first time being in love with somebody. So he, again, doesn't understand what that means.
Right.
Like, how to love somebody.
Yeah.
He just knows he loves her. But he doesn't, he doesn't have those actions yet.
Right.
And so that's the difference. Is before he got away with everything. He doesn't. He's learning now. He doesn't. At least that's what he's learning.
And then Lucas says that he didn't say it was okay, but he just did a second ago.
Yeah, he agreed with that Haley should let it go.
Yeah. So,
and Nathan's right in this.
Right. And Lucas says that with what he saw in the gym today, Nathan needs a little support.
Whatever.
Right. And then Payne goes to see Jake. She tells him she feels terrible. He has every right to be mad at her, and then that's when
I would have closed the door on that girl.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even have answered the door. I would have saw who it was and said, I'm good.
Yeah, because Jake says he's mad at Nikki, but he's disappointed in Payne. And then Payne has to bring up the 2 seconds thing again.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and Jake points out what happened in those 2 seconds.
And
then
anything can happen in 1 second.
Yeah. And then he tells Payne he just got off the phone with the legal aid attorney and was told that Jenny's fair game. And if it goes to court with the judge, usually sides with the birth mother. And Payne asks even if he can prove what a horrible person she is. And Jake says that if you saw Nikki play that cop in the mall, she's going to do the same thing with the judge. Now he's worried about losing Jenny if she wins.
Now, I don't agree that the judge would just once again give her full custody.
Right.
Because he has taken care of her since the day she was born. So I feel like that would come into consideration.
Right.
maybe 50-50, but clearly Jake don't want 50-50. He wants 100.
Yeah. And then, even though we haven't seen him there again, he technically still has a job at the cafe, I think.
Yeah, because remember,
Peyton
called Karen to talk to Jake. So he was at work. That's why she was. That's why she was watching Jenny. So, that's why it all started.
Right. Yeah, so that will help him too. So
yeah, because Nikki, she dropped out of college, and she just parties and doesn't have a job. So that's working out well for her.
Yeah, she doesn't have a job or support from her family.
Right. So that's going to work out well for her, right?
Mm-hmm. But then now Jake says he has to get away from here, and he has a cousin in Savannah he could go to.
I have a problem with this.
Because he's running?
Yeah. Don't you think that's bad?
Yeah.
In the court of law?
Yeah, Payne says that, wouldn't that make things worse for him? And Jake says if Nikki comes after Jenny, the lawyer says it could end up costing him a fortune fighting for her. So that's why he doesn't want to.
But it doesn't matter. You're taking her daughter and running.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing: is Nikki didn't take Jenny and run.
Yeah.
Nikki just abandoned her. So she was still safe with a parent. But for Jake to truly, basically kidnap her from her mother, where Nikki doesn't know where she's at, doesn't know who's taking care of her, that's not good in the court of law.
Right.
So Jake would immediately, at this point, if he does this, he loses all custody and all rights. In my mind, I feel like that's how the court would go, is if we would have worked this out, you could have had 50% custody. Now you get 0 because you're kidnapping your child.
Right.
Like, that's great.
Yeah. So it's the money that he's worried about. He doesn't want to, put his parents through that either.
Well, apparently they're already struggling.
Yeah.
Which is understandable, but at the same time, like...
Right.
And also, too, there is mediation. Couldn't they go down that route?
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, it's just like, just taking your child and running is not the answer.
And then Haley's working on her essay again on Nathan's computer at his
apartment. Again, why?
Yeah, I was going to say.
First of all, why would Nathan let her again?
Yeah, because I was going to say, I guess she gave him another chance. But sure enough, she finds photos of Peyton on his laptop this time. They're screenshots from her webcam with at least 4 in a bath towel. So yeah, this definitely should be considered cheating,
Well, especially that one was just the other day. When she was in the sweatshirt or something.
Yeah.
It was just the other day.
Yeah. And then just then Nathan walks in. Haley's straightforward and says they weren't real people. Nathan asks what she's doing, and she says she's a real person. She has feelings, problems, and she feels...
I mean, okay, so here's the thing.
Yeah.
Nathan told Peyton a couple episodes ago that he has feelings, or that he still has feelings for Peyton, and he always will. Now you see he's like still watching her. So it's like it hasn't gone away. But remember those words.
Yeah. That
he will always. And it's like, maybe you shouldn't say those words.
Right.
But the fact that he did, it's like, clearly it's not going to change him. Clearly he's always going to like Peyton. Especially in that way. Because she can give him what Haley can't.
Yeah, so they get into an argument about, the girls being a fantasy, and Haley acts Payne as a fantasy too. Then she saw the pictures of Payne up, so Nathan shuts the laptop closed.
So yeah, that's when he wants privacy in his own apartment, which, I mean, I do agree with, but, I mean, they both have valid points.
Yeah, so Haley says she can't be Payne for him, she can't be those girls, she won't. Nathan says he doesn't want her to be. And Haley asks if he's sure about that. And then she walks over to him and takes his hand and kisses it. And then she tells him she gave him her heart, and that's all she can give him. And if that's not enough for him, then she's not enough, and then walks out. So yeah, he's just not good at trying to explain to her that, it is a fantasy. I mean, I don't think he could have explained himself.
How's he going to get the fantasy out of Payne?
Yeah. But at least when it came with the porn, he could explain that better to her for her to understand.
Also, You know you're looking at Peyton, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why wouldn't you just had an argument with Haley about porn.
Right.
Why wouldn't you delete those?
Right, and then delete the pictures of Peyton, too.
No, that's what I'm saying. You know you're just going to fight about this. You have Peyton's pictures on your computer. Yeah. Why aren't you deleting them? Right. So that she doesn't see it again. Because now it's going to be in her head of, who else do you have pictures of? And now she's going to want to check your computer.
And then Payne is still at Jake's and is holding Jenny while Jake is fixing Jenny's bed. Payne asks Jake if he's serious about leaving. He says yeah, and Payne says she's going to miss him. And then tells him she's got to wait for him to leave, but he's got to go in the morning. She explains her dad's transport is leaving for the Keys. She asks about Jake's cousin, and yes, he can stay with her, or stay with him. And Jake says he's talking, yeah. And then Payne explains more that her dad docks near there and a couple of other places on the way.
So too bad Dad's running off.
And then she points out if he goes by car, Nikki can follow him that way, but this way on boat she can't.
Again, kidnapping your child. As much as I don't want to say it, it's what you're doing.
Yeah.
In the court of law.
And then she tells him he doesn't, that she doesn't want him to go. But if he thinks it's the best thing for Jenny, Jake says he was thinking about how his parents would be crushed if he leaves. So he's also not telling his parents either that he's going. So he's like kidnapping their grandchild too, in a way.
Who they've paid for.
Yeah, and have been,
attached to.
Yeah, and helping Jake raise. So.
Well, that's the thing. So he goes to Savannah. Who's going to help him raise her?
Right.
Because he's going to have to get a job.
And
he's going to drop out of school.
Right.
And who's going to watch Jenny?
Yeah, because now like this new boss is going to be like Karen.
Right. Yeah. I'll even watch her for you at work.
Yeah, and he can't, give her to a daycare because he doesn't have the money for it. So
and two, like people, like parents, they struggle to find daycares because they're always full. Like you have to be on a wait list for them. So he thinks he's going to just move to Savannah and then have a babysitter.
Right.
That's, first of all, you got to then find somebody to trust to watch your child.
I mean, he has a
Secondly,
cousin,
but the cousin is probably working too. And again, you're not going to just head to Savannah and then get right into a daycare. Jake has a very teenage view on reality.
Yeah, a lot of people in this episode are thinking very clearly about things.
A lot of them are on the bad list.
Yeah. And his excuse, too, is that Nikki's been so bad to his world already, and not just to him, but to her, Lucas, and Brooke.
The only thing she has done is leave. It's not like she's hit her or not fed her or... You know what I mean? We haven't physically seen how she is with Jenny.
Right.
Maybe she is, nurturing. We don't know. We've never seen her with a kid. Right. I can't judge somebody if I haven't seen them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're only seeing Jake's point of view. We don't see Nikki's point of view. Like, yes, do I agree with this? She shouldn't be partying and all that? Yes. But at the same time, we haven't seen her with the kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you could call it postpartum that she had. Because that is real.
Yeah.
So, maybe she had a change of heart. Dan did. Again, and that's the thing. All of a sudden, everyone has a change of heart of Dan in this episode. But we don't have a change of heart of Nikki.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, okay.
Yeah, and then I wish...
But again, she didn't abort the kid.
Right.
Like Dan wanted.
But I do wish we could have got to see Jake's reaction to find out that Nikki and Lucas slept together.
But he didn't find out, did he? I don't think he knows.
Well, he said that Nikki's already messed up his world and also to Peyton, Lucas, and Brooke. So I'm guessing that's what he meant by Lucas. And then Jake tells Payne if he stays, Nikki will win custody, and Payne tells him the boat leaves in the morning. And Jake asks if Peyton's dad's cool with this, and she says she'll tell him that he's visiting relatives, so she's lying to her dad.
Yeah.
And he'll understand that he'll do anything for his daughter too, and she'll be there in the morning to meet them. And then the next scene is at Karen's cafe, where there's a package delivery for them.
I don't understand this.
Right.
Deb wanted to get away from Dan. She wanted Nathan away from Dan. She's got herself a divorce.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the divorce papers. And she's sad.
Right.
Like, if he was a normal person, you know what I mean? Like, he actually had a heart, I would be like, oh my God, I understand. Like, that's why you're sad. But Dan is not a normal person. So, like, he doesn't have a heart. And he only uses people. So I'm just kind of like, what? Like, why are you so sad?
Right.
This is what you wanted. Remember when Dan said episodes ago, like, we don't have to do this, like, you're overreacting, you know, getting lawyers involved, going through this divorce, like, blah, blah, blah. She, at that point, could have stopped it all. But she didn't. At any point leading up to this, she could have stopped the divorce. But she didn't. Mm-hmm. So why is she sad now?
Right, yeah, I don't know.
And they slept together, which brought emotion back to her, but he was a complete jerk.
Yeah.
And he showed his true colors. Mm-hmm. So wouldn't that have been like, give me the pen? You know what I mean? Like, it's one thing if they didn't sleep together and then she would have had those thoughts of, like, what could be. Mm-hmm. But the fact that they did sleep together, and that was the end, clearly. Mm-hmm. And then how he played it, it was bad. So it's like, why wouldn't she just be like all happy? You know what? We tried it, you know, one night, didn't work. Give me the pen. Like, I don't understand why she's so sad. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And how he treated their son. I don't understand. I don't get that.
Yeah, it's just like a very, very late reaction. I don't know.
That's what I mean is I could see this before they slept together. She, you know, feelings are coming back to her. But after that, no. I don't see it. Why she should be sad.
Right. And then Lucas and Nathan are doing dressed at the gym. Then Dan comes walking up.
And the devil has arrived.
Yeah, Nathan and Lucas stop in their tracks when they see him. And the next scene we see Deb sign the divorce papers. She's crying. And then Jake and Jenny meet with Peyton at a dock the next morning. Peyton tells him she kind of hoped that he wouldn't show. Jake goes to say something to Peyton, but she tells him not to, for them just to be safe. And then quickly kisses him, like, on the side of the mouth, it looks like, kind of.
And you know, her dad's watching her, but, I mean, what does he care? He lets people watch her naked, so.
Right. And then Jake hugs Peyton and kisses her forehead, and him and Jenny walk towards the boat with Larry, and Jake looks back at Peyton, and Peyton waves, and he moves back and gets on the boat. So this was, this whole plotline was for Brian leaving to go into his own show. So I think that's maybe why it didn't really make a lot of sense, because it, you know, they kind of had to be forced to put it together.
What show was he on?
Was it October Road or that movie? No, that's the show.
I watched that.
I watched a little bit of it.
It was a very slow movie.
Yeah, that's why I only watched a little bit.
And it only lasted 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Well, it was hard because it was slow moving, but then I'm like, now I gotta finish it because I need to know what happened.
Right.
But it only lasted 2 seasons. Like, a lot of times I like to look at how many seasons things are. Because if things are like 1 season, I don't want to get invested and then there's nothing else. Right. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, I'll have a lot of questions. So I watched it because he was in it, but then I was like, like, it lasted 2 seasons.
No, it wasn't this. October Road came out in 2007. We're in 2004 here right now.
Yeah, so it can't be October Road.
Oh, that's what sort of thing.
Are you sure he wasn't doing like a movie or something?
Yeah, I think it was. I'm trying to look it up. I remember Hillary did mention it too. I forgot what it was.
But see, the thing is, like, he wasn't a main character.
Right.
I mean, we got invested with his story, but he wasn't a main character.
So the movie he did in 2004 was called The Perfect Score. That's what it was.
Possibly.
He was also in another show at the time, Boston Public. for 2 episodes. But that couldn't happen. That made him leave. So I think it had been that film with perfect score. He did another episode of a TV show called Life with Bonnie, and then a movie in 2005 called Prime. So yeah, I think it had been perfect score. Maybe they couldn't turn down.
Probably.
Yeah. And then later on, Payne is on her bed, sad, when Lucas walks in. He asks if she's okay, and she tells him that she's just got some stuff going on. And Lucas
don't you like how he's checking on Peyton, but not Brooke?
Right. Yeah.
They both hate him.
Right.
But he's picking one.
I guess probably because he cares about Payne.
Why not? He's more invested with her.
Yeah.
Plus, he really screwed Brooke over.
Yeah. Yeah, the most of the world. And then he wanted to apologize again for not being a better person lately. He says he's trying. He doesn't know what else to say. And he tells him it's not about what he says, it's about what he does, which is very true. Nathan should learn that too. And if you don't like the person you're becoming, then do something about it, because no one else is going to do it for him. Lucas says he knows, and that's why he came by. He says he's going to make a few changes, and he just wanted to see her before he does. I thought that was very ominous. He didn't really give explanation of what that would be, because I'd be wondering what it would be at that point too.
Yeah, I mean, if you were Payne, you'd be like, what?
You just came here to say that, and now...
Then you leave?
Yeah.
Just disappear?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people that want to disappear on this show, don't they?
Yeah. And then Keith is packing up at home, and Kieran drops by. She says she didn't want this, him moving away. Now she's bringing this up at the last second.
Oh, now she doesn't want him to move.
Yeah.
So when he got the job, she could have said it then.
Yeah, or before he even went for the interview.
Or she could have said, but did she? I'm trying to think. Did she say she wanted him in her life, just not marry him?
Yeah, but that was way before the job interview and all that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is, you could have said it before then, but at the same time, I feel like she did. And he was like, no, if we're not basically married,
yeah,
I'm not going to be friends with you. And it's like, So I feel like she did kind of say it.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, this is the same thing. She doesn't want to be with him. She just wants to be friends with him. Mm-hmm. Which is still going to make him leave because he wants more than that.
Right. Yeah, so Karen asks if she trapped him. Did she lead him on and trick him into loving Lucas? And Keith says she didn't trick him. Loving her is what happened. So I hate that she's questioning if, Keith ever loved Lucas or would have loved Lucas,
Well,
at the end of the truth about Dan.
But I don't like what he is saying, though, about Karen either.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like that he's basically, now you're the bad person because you didn't tell me, and I could have loved my brother, and it's like, you had hated your brother still, and you wouldn't have had a relationship with Lucas. I don't like the way he's treating Karen in that way either. Grow up. He's a jerk. Why are you all forgetting that?
Yeah, Karen, asked how, her not talking about Dan's true intentions changed anything, because no matter what she said back then, Dan would have still been the same human he's becoming.
Exactly. Only probably worse, because he would have had more people to control.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been worse, I feel like.
Yeah. And she tells Keith that he still would have been there for her and Lucas.
I don't think so, because again, he wasn't there for Nathan. Because of Dan.
Yeah. And Keith, asks what for, so he can end up pushing 40 and still living in the bachelor apartment. Now,
that's on him.
Yeah,
that's on him.
Yeah, that was
she never, in all these years, said, I'm going to marry you one day. Mm-hmm. She never said that. It was in his head.
Yep.
That's on him. If he chose not to be with somebody in all those years, that's on you.
Yep.
You cannot blame somebody else for your choices.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if she would have said, hinted at all these years, I love you, we're going to be together one day. If she had said that or hinted, that'd have been one thing. Right. Where it's I'll wait for you forever.
Mm-hmm.
But she never said that.
No.
So, even when we started the show, she never said that.
Right.
It was all in his head.
Mm-hmm.
So, he's the one that's always been in love with her. So, that's on you, buddy.
Yeah.
Don't blame others
for
realizing the truth that she doesn't love you like that.
Right. So Keith tells her, she got what she needed, and so did Lucas. But what about him? Saying that he stood by her and Lucas, and he's glad he did, but he can't help but think why. What does he get out of it? And Karen says he gets a boy who loves him. Yeah. So again, I hate that he was like blaming her for his choices.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when Lucas walks in, and he says that they need to talk. And Lucas tells his mom that he knows that she did her best. If she hadn't kept Dan away, Keith and him probably wouldn't have been so close, and he would have hated to miss that. So he understands now why she had to keep that secret to herself, and she just needs, she needs to find herself on her own, and that's what he wants to start over, and that's what she did when she shut Dan out. And he tells Keith and then he says that's what Keith's doing too by leaving town. And Keith asks Lucas what does he mean by starting over, and Lucas explains to get away.
I don't like that. Yeah. Lucas was like, I want to go live with Keith.
Yeah, and get away from everything.
Yeah. Like, sorry, Lucas, but you're legally under your mom's roof.
Yeah, I was thinking about that.
Legally, Karen could fight that and be like, absolutely not.
Yeah, how could they? Because she would have to sign Keith as his guardian for him to go with him. So, even though, ended up being like
a day.
Yeah.
No. Like, if I was Karen, nope. Also, if I recall, when Keith was in charge, what happened? Let's see. He had sex with Brooke. He got a tattoo. He was drinking and partying and doing illegal stuff, going to people's hot tubs, and let's see here, the car crash. It's like so much happened with Keith in charge.
Right.
Absolutely not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Karen should have thrown that back in their faces.
Yeah, because she gave.
I would have.
Yeah, because she gave Keith such a hard time before about that.
I know, and then you're going to just let Keith take your son? No. Throw that back in his face.
Right.
And also, all this time that Karen broke your heart by telling the truth, that, after all these years, he never once went to Lucas. Lucas always went to Keith. So what kind of adult is that? Right. You know what I mean? Like, if you wanted Lucas and you wanted him to live with you and all of this, you would have been there regardless of how Karen and you ended.
Right.
But he wasn't. So, again, he's not a good, parent figure. Lucas needs to be with Karen.
Right.
At the end of the day. So, I mean, their whole life then, Keith and Lucas, would be a bachelor pad. Could you? Then Lucas would be a teen parent.
Right.
So, I'm just saying that what he's proven, I mean, look at people's actions in this episode.
Yeah, so that was it.
So for me, the high was Nathan and Lucas bonding. I liked that they're there for each other.
Right.
Because, we're finally getting to see the brothers actually be brothers.
Yeah.
Because, they weren't raised together. And then the worst, let's see, there's some low points to this episode. Let's see here. Nikki and Peyton not, I think the worst was Peyton not paying attention to Nick or to Jenny at all. And again, she should just be lucky that it was Nikki that took her, because she at least brought her back.
Yeah.
So, but then, Lucas and Keith going at Karen and blaming her for Dan not being there. And, the other thing is, too, Dan could have got a different lawyer that would have fought Karen. Because Karen didn't have the money.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, given who Dan is, he would have found a lawyer who believed everything he did and would have fought Karen to the end. Right. So, and made her lose everything. So, I don't agree that Dan just gave up so easily. If he truly wanted him, he'd fight.
Yeah. Today might show something too.
Yeah, I don't agree with that, because Dan is not that person that would be like, sorry, They told me no.
Right.
No. He doesn't like the word no.
Yeah.
So, and he doesn't like things that are not in his favor.
Mm-hmm.
So he would not have gone along with that. He would have fought. Especially because he would want revenge on Karen. So which would mean he'd want custody of Lucas. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So he'd fight.
Yeah, and I feel like maybe with him wanting custody, that would have made a little more sense why he saved him in the crash. But at the same time, with the way Dan is, you think that he would only save Lucas to have control over him. Like, I saved your life now.
Mm-hmm. Now you gotta do what I want.
Yeah, so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like having custody. Mm-hmm. It would be in your face to Karen and now you get to do whatever I want, like Nathan had to.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's the same thing.
Yeah.
But again, I don't agree that Dan would not have fought for it. Mm-hmm. Only because he'd want revenge. It has nothing to do with wanting the kid. Mm-hmm. It has everything to do with the power of the kid.
Right.
So, and the power of the mother, because then he could control Karen, which I think is what he's always wanted, to control Karen, Deb, anyone who comes in contact with him. So yeah, I don't agree with that part. So I don't like how everybody was treating Karen because she was in a losing battle back then, and she's in a losing battle now between everybody. Like nobody was giving her grace. But yeah, the lowest definitely was Peyton. How she did not chase Nikki.
Yeah, I just looked this up. Build-A-Bear Workshop started in 97, so it was a thing back then. I just wanted to double check.
What's yours?
Because, because Build-A-Bear didn't, well, it actually never even came here to our area, but something similar to it was at the mall before. Some years back, it was called something else, but it was the same concept. But I hadn't heard about Build-A-Bear until, like, maybe around this time, so I was just curious about when it came out. But my low, it was the mall scene, too. It really annoyed me how Peyton was just so
stupid,
reckless, yeah. Because I get to that's like as far as we know, that's the first baby she's taking care of. Yeah, so
well, she doesn't have little siblings, she doesn't have cousins, and
right.
all of them. So it's not like she knows anything about. All she has is herself,
and
that's probably why. Because she's selfish. Because she only has herself to take care of, so she doesn't know how to, take care of others and respond to them.
Yeah, she has to take care of herself, but herself is one thing, a baby is a whole different thing. So, and she was so focused on building her friendship with Brooke back. So.
Yeah, she could care less if there's a baby in the stroller. Oh, and that was a thing. Okay, somebody takes the baby, right?
Yeah.
I could picture Brooke and Peyton with a stroller just going through the stores.
Oh, with it empty?
With an empty stroller. They were so into what store they were going into.
Yeah.
I could see somebody taking Jenny and them not realizing it and them going through the whole mall for a couple hours without realizing the baby's gone.
Yeah.
I could picture that. Bad.
Yeah.
They're both at fault, but Peyton was responsible for her. So she's really bad.
Yeah.
Jake should have told Peyton she has to watch Jenny at his house.
Right.
Like she's always done.
And not go anywhere, yeah.
That's the thing. She's never left really with Jenny. This is the first time.
Yeah, but
so
happens, yeah.
Why would she be allowed to take Jenny wherever she wants?
I don't know.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, you gotta watch her at my house.
Yeah.
Yes, Brooke can come over, but again, it has to be at my house. You can't just take her.
Right, yeah. I guess Jake had trusted to take her out, but he was.
Well, look what happened.
Yeah.
Don't let Peyton watch your kids.
Yeah, and then my high was definitely seeing Lucas and Nathan bond too and get along.
Yep.
And then reading.
I'd rate this an 8. It was good.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, 8. And then
your best and worst.
Yeah, the worst. It's a tie between Nikki and Peyton, just because Nikki knew what this would do for Peyton and Jake. She was just trying to ease her way back to trying to get Jenny.
She's trying to get under their skin.
Yeah, and get Jenny in the most conniving way, and because it's she.
But she has a point. Peyton wasn't watching the kid.
Yeah, I'm just saying she knew what the trouble she was going to cause with the security guards.
What I think is funny is she followed Peyton to the mall.
Yeah.
Because there's probably other stores in town, or why did you know that she's there?
Because the mall is just was popular at the time. Like everybody was always there, so it hadn't been a coincidence that she saw Peyton. But the second she saw them, she definitely
locked eyes and went, ooh.
Yeah, made a plan. Yeah. And then the best is Haley, just because she stood her ground about how she felt about Nathan and his computer secrets. No matter who was telling her that she was overreacting, it wasn't a big deal and everything. So she was still following her heart, what she thought about it and how she felt,
Mm-hmm.
And yours?
Mine is the worst is 100% Peyton.
Mm-hmm. Right.
How do you lose sight of her?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever, Peyton. And yeah, the best was Haley. Yeah. I like too because she's like the only one in this cast that girls can relate to.
Oh yeah, that's
because if you're not sexually active, Peyton and Brooke are not your ideal
advice.
Yeah, and not somebody you'd really want your kids to look after and be a role model to.
Right.
So, Brooke and Peyton are not that. But Haley is.
Yeah.
So, and I love, even her best friend was trying to go against her, and she's like, whatever, no. I like that too, and I like that she was being vulnerable with everyone, because especially when you're that age, you don't want to talk about that.
Right.
Not even with a single soul. So, it's one thing to think it, but to actually say it is different.
Yeah, and I can imagine this could easily play out the same with Dawson's Creek and if it was between Joey and Pacey.
They did that.
With porn?
Yes.
When?
In the cabin. When he had the porn on. And then that one girl was trying to get Pacey to herself, and she had her own vulnerable session.
Oh, I wasn't thinking like visual porn.
It was on TV.
I know, just it was internet is a whole different thing, because he was caught looking at it
he saved it. Yeah. Pacey never saved anything.
Yeah.
If he did look at it, he never saved it. But
it was a new thing. It wasn't something that was dragging on for a minute.
Yeah, but Joey did the right thing too by being vulnerable.
Yeah.
Even though she took it to another level. But yes, I like the Haley. She still went, she opened up to everybody, and everybody was shutting her down.
Right.
I didn't like it. But I like that she was there for, she's showing people, regular girls. You don't have to be scared to talk about it, or, and you can actually tell your feelings. And if people shut you out, stand your ground.
Yeah.
That's what I think is helpful to girls watching.
Yeah, she doesn't have to be what the other girls are doing and looking like. Yeah.
You're perfect the way you are. Yeah. Don't be anybody else.
Yeah.
And don't live up to your boyfriend standards when it comes to that.
Yeah. So then the next episode is going to be the season 1 finale.
We're already there.
Yeah. Episode 22, The Games That Play Us.
More Dan. That's all I know.
Yeah, but the
basketball.
Yeah, that's going to be fun to watch.
Yes, it is, because it's Dan. I'm not going to lie, I do like the entertainment when it comes to Dan and the boys, because it's funny.
Yeah.
As much as you're eye rolling a lot, because you're just really, but it's the whole point of it being entertaining, which is what you want. You don't. We just watched 6 seasons of a show that was draining because there was nothing happening.
Yeah.
And, when something happened, you were oh my God, it was the best thing in the world. But it's so good that Dan, it just keeps going. They just keep finding more stuff for him to do. And more people to torment. It's great.
Yeah.
Well, think, if you take him out of it, you'd be sad.
Right.
Like, as much as he annoys people, he's like the best villain for the show.
Yeah.
So, and it's good too, because he doesn't just pinpoint one person and it's like, I'm going to target you. He does it to everybody that comes in contact. I mean, Jake, who he never really had contact with, he's like, basically like, you're off the team. You're off my team.
Yeah.
You know, it's like that kind of thing. It's like, he just goes after everybody.
Right. He doesn't have like any favorite person or anything.
Just right. No, everybody is fair game to go after.
Yeah. The only favorite person he has is himself.
Exactly. And he's only ever looking at himself. As the hero. Yeah. He just thinks that's who he is. Yeah, which is funny. Which, I mean, that's the thing is, on other shows, if you have like a villain, usually they're targeting probably one person or maybe a couple. But here it's everybody. Like Nikki, she's really only targeting Jake and somewhat Peyton.
Yeah.
But Dan is doing everybody. Yeah. Like, he's just messing with everybody, which is fun to watch.
Right.
Because it's always like, who's he going to mess with next? You know, like we're keeping him around, so who's next? Which is great.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for listening.
Yep. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to this episode of Duo Chat. If you want to chime in with your opinion about the episode and the show we discussed, you can email us at duochatpodcast@gmail.com. And to keep up with updates about the podcast, you can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and subscribe to our channel on YouTube at Duo Chat Podcast. And give us a review wherever you listen to podcasts. We would appreciate it.